Confident, confident, confident. I can be confident, 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 confident. I can be confident at work.
Hello and welcome to the Confident at Work podcast. I'm your host and your confidence coach, Anna Manning. And today we're talking about that pesky thought that so many people have. I don't deserve to be here. And that thought can get in our way and it can slow us down and it can make us second guess ourselves and it can make us be quiet when we really have something to say. It can make us not take opportunities that we maybe could or should take, maybe not sit at tables where we could and should deserve to be, or we can be sitting there and still feeling like I don't deserve to be here, even when we know logically that we do. Because we've been through the interview process, we've been given the promotion, we've been given the role, we've been invited to speak or to contribute or to sit at this particular table. So today we're going to do a deep dive into this I don't deserve to be here thought. And it's a common thing that a lot of people experience. And this isn't about competence. Some of the most capable people that I have worked with, both at work in my own professional life and while I'm coaching, can believe this thought or certainly find that this thought is persistent even when they know logically that it might not be quite right. And unfortunately, you hope for most people that they feel more confident as they get more senior. But when this thought is rattling around your brain, the problems associated with it can actually increase as your responsibility increases. So when you get the promotion, it doesn't make it better, it makes it slightly worse. So I'm going to take you through how the I don't deserve to be here thought shows up. What happens when we believe it? Help you think about that crucial distinction between logic and belief. So when you know it's not true, but that thought is still prevalent, and why we might be believing it. But first, we're going to look at how I don't deserve to be here might show up. And I'm going to invite you to see whether there's anything here that you recognize. And I'm going through three lenses, the kind of cognitive or the thinking lens, behavioral, so things you might find yourself doing, and emotional, so things you might find yourself feeling. So you might find that you're constantly having to kind of monitor yourself. When you're thinking, I don't deserve to be here, you're going to have to monitor very closely that everything that you're doing, saying, putting out there shows that you do deserve to be here through the lens of this thought in the back of your head that you don't. So you might be doing this constant kind of checking and this self-monitoring. You might be discounting positive feedback that you get. So even if you get it, this is very common. I see this all the time. Even if you get that positive feedback, you might just think, well, people are just being nice, or they probably don't really think it. They probably just have to say it. Or, they're just blowing smoke up my arse. Or you just kind of don't notice it. You might be really focused on any little thing that might go wrong or that might look bad or be a bit of a chink in the armor. Because you might be thinking, oh, well, one little thing, one little slip up, and everybody's going to know that I don't deserve to be here. Right now, you might be thinking, just I know, but don't want everyone else to find out. You might find yourself doing a lot of work internally while you might still be able to, appear confident externally. In terms of behavior, you might find yourself staying quiet in meetings or in moments where you have actually got an opinion, you have got something to share. You might find yourself over preparing for things, perfecting every little thing, kind of not being able to think, okay, well, I can do this and that's good enough and I can rely on what I know and my expertise. You might be like, right, must make sure everything's perfect. And I've considered every eventuality scenario, dotted every I, crossed every T. You might also find yourself procrastinating. It's kind of a two-pronged approach, two-edged sword, two sides of a coin. I don't know. You get me anyway. Over preparing and or procrastinating, which is like, oh, I can't even bear to look at that because I'm just feeling awful about it, or I don't know, or it's going to be nerve wracking. And then you kind of push the thing to the end of your desk, ignore it, and then over prepare at the last minute. You might find yourself deflecting praise. So people give you a compliment or say that you think they think you did something well, you might be like, oh no. You might wish that you could avoid opportunities or visibility. Let's say, you've been asked to chair something or run something. You might think, well, God, no, I'd rather not do that. I'd rather give my team that or, allow somebody else to do it. Even if other people are thinking, you could do that. That would be good. You're like, yeah, no. And the feeling side of all that is usually a lot of feelings, especially when you're being asked to do something where you're going to be visible in some way. There might be a low level anxiety. There might be a very high level anxiety for you. There might be a lot of worry. There might be sleepless nights. There might be relief when you don't have to do something. But I've often seen that mix with kind of frustration and annoyance that actually think, well, that actually would be good for my career, or, it would be good if I could get up there and do that, or I should be able to. I've seen that too. Giving yourself a hard time for then feeling like you can't, even though you quote unquote should. So I'm guessing I don't have to explain to you why this thought is a problem, because if it's a problem for you, I think you probably already know. But when you're believing I don't deserve to be here, you might be performing beneath your actual capability, because there are probably many things that you can contribute, that you can say, that you can actually do, or you would be able to if you weren't believing this thought that you didn't deserve to be here. People can't get an accurate reading of your capability and your competence if you can't risk showing them it. That really almost kind of fragile sense of belonging, or feeling like maybe you probably don't belong because you don't deserve to be here, requires you then to stay sort of small or invisible or smaller. And then that kind of reinforces itself. So you can be very competent and still be undermining yourself if you're believing this thought that's in your mind that you don't deserve to be here. And this is where I want to shed a light on the kind of logic versus the belief. So many people will tell me, look, this is what I'm thinking, I don't deserve to be here, but I know that it's not true logically. And the logical things people tell me is, well, I was hired, I went through quite a competitive process, and I get good feedback. People like working with me. People generally tend to respect me for what I do. So if logic were enough, then you could see that you do deserve to be here. But logic can fail us in these moments, because there's a difference between logic and belief, and there are different ways of describing this. Some people will say, well, I know logically, but I'll say, yeah, but what does the illogical bit of you think? And they'll say, well, just, that's the bit that feels I don't deserve to be here. And that might be a mental thing for some people. It might feel like a really physical thing for others. But our beliefs are not always based on logic. And we see that around us all the time, don't we? We live in a world where people believe all kinds of things that are not at all based on fact or on logic. But that happens inside of us too. Beliefs are very often built from a kind of emotional learning rather than facts. The belief isn't kind of asking to be disproven by logic. It's trying to protect you from something bad or awful that it thinks might happen if everyone realizes that maybe you're not meant to be there after all. And there's a lovely moment in client sessions where you can see that someone's gone from believing I don't deserve to be here, even when they know logically, and then they have almost embodied that sense that they are supposed to be there. Like their belief and the logic are now kind of matching up together. They know, they'll say, I know I deserve to be there and I'm there for a reason. And that's really, well, I assume, but you could tell me different, that that's really where we want to get to. So we're going to look a little bit about why we might be believing this thought, or why we might have this belief that I don't deserve to be here. But I want to preface this by saying that for many people in professional settings, there was a point in time where you were not allowed to be, or someone like you was not allowed to actually be there. whether that's because you're female, whether that is because you are working class, whether that is because you are Black, in my context, right? A white majority context. There are all kinds of people historically who have been excluded from certain settings, from certain jobs, from certain professions, or at least from reaching higher positions within those professions. And that was very real and not very long ago. And I want to preface this conversation by saying that if that is you, if you have one of those characteristics or you identify with one of those characteristics, and there are many, then this kind of thinking can really persist on the inside, even when you have got to that position. And even if you believe very firmly and surely that that is the right thing and a good thing. So with that as the backdrop, and I say that to hopefully give you some compassion maybe for yourself or some understanding, so that as well as believing that you don't deserve to be here, you're not judging yourself too much for believing that. There are maybe structural, societal reasons why this thinking has ended up on the inside of your head. It may even be very real that some people in your organization or in your team or in your industry still really don't think that you deserve to be here. That I want to name that, because that may also be true. You could probably find people in the wider world that might think that. There are still people that think women shouldn't be CEOs. And all of that might have coalesced within you and formed belief somewhere along the line from something you've picked up or some experience or experiences that you have had. And now those things all live within this one sentence: I don't deserve to be here. And it might be interesting to find out, why is it safer for you to assume that than to assume that you do deserve to be here? Why is it safer for you to assume that you don't deserve to be here? It may be that that gives you some protection from exposure, right? While you're believing you don't deserve to be here, you're not going to expose yourself too much. You're not going to be too visible. It's going to be a bit of a protection. You might fear the loss of what could happen if everyone finds out that you don't deserve to be here. You might fear taking some responsibility. Like if you really deserve to be here, you may have to kind of step into this leader or this person or this, manager, whatever. And with that comes responsibility for other people's careers and other people's experience. And that may be a responsibility that, I don't know, maybe you fear or you don't want. Maybe you fear success because that could do something to you, or that could harm you in some way. Maybe you have an identity which is not the identity of somebody who just believes they're meant to be wherever they are. I don't know what that is for you, and I don't know what that brings up for you. But this thinking, this belief, I don't deserve to be here, is probably keeping you safe from something. Being exposed is one that I often hear. But this thinking creates its own problem, right? Because it's this very thinking that says, if I do X, Y, or Z, I will be exposed as not deserving of being here. So if I think I don't deserve to be here, I won't do that, and therefore I won't lose everything. So really what it's trying to do is stop you from losing everything. It's a bit of circular thinking, and it might not stand up to much logical scrutiny, but you may want to just explore that and feel that out. Here's an example. Like, if I believe I don't deserve this, I don't have to fully step into it. And that protects me from scrutiny, from blame, from envy, from losing it all. So actually, even though I'm thinking I don't deserve to be here or I don't deserve this, and that's problematic for me, it's better than losing everything, which is the alternative. Right? When you say it like that, it sounds very logical that you might have that belief. But here's what I think you can do. You can work with beliefs like this. You can understand them, open them up to other bits of knowing, other bits of logic, and you can prompt. The theoretical term is memory reconsolidation, but you can amend, update, delete thoughts and build new ones. But you're probably going to do that with a professional and with support, whether that's with me or somebody else. But I would say if you're just listening to this and thinking about it on your own, the key thing is I wouldn't bother trying to convince yourself that you do deserve it, especially if you've already tried. That doesn't really work. Instead, I would try asking yourself the question, what does this belief protect me from? Or what would I risk if I did believe that I belonged? And try and put yourself in very specific scenarios. Like if I was at that conference and I believed I belonged, what would I risk? If I was in that meeting and I believed I belonged, what would I risk? You may even try a shift, which is part of me believes I don't deserve this or I don't deserve to be here. And part of me does. Some people find it really useful to see and name those two parts. Even think about what those two parts are trying to do for you. Maybe they can even have a conversation together. That is often work that I do with clients. On the one hand, I believe this, but on the other hand, I believe that. Great, let's get them out on the table. Let's look at them, even put both hands out in front of you and see what's in each hand. And remember, you are already doing what you're doing. You already have been promoted or you already are in your role. So even if you're there and you're thinking, I don't deserve to be here, you still are. Right? That belief hasn't got you completely stopped. You're still there. You're still showing up, even though you're believing you don't deserve to be there. You're still there, aren't you? You're still going to the meeting. You're still here listening to this podcast. That is worth noticing. So you might think, part of me thinks that I don't deserve to be here, but I am. All right. If you want to come and do this work with me, if you want to come and shift and change beliefs like this so that you can feel more confident at work, head to the link in the show notes and book a time to explore private coaching. I'm very happy to tell you whether or not I think that I can help you and explain how I work. So if you are listening to this in real time, the last thing is that on the 28th of January, we have the Confident at Work 2026 Masterclass. It is a free masterclass. It is happening at 1 p.m. UK time, but if you sign up, you will get the replay in your inbox. I think we have over 200 people signed up for that class now, and by the time it rolls around, there will be more, so you will be in good company. That class is going to take everything you've been learning on the podcast and kind of help you to think about and build the foundations for you so that you can take away a plan for growing your confidence in 2026. Head to the link in the show notes. You'll be very welcome either to come and join us live or to join us via the replay. All right. I will see you in next week's episode. Bye.
Confidence, confidence, confident. I can be confident. Confidence, confidence, confident. I can be confident at work.